Alright, moving on to question 7, checksum. So a checksum is a function that when you give it a string, it outputs a specific value in relation to that string. So let's say we have the very iconic string, hello world, and if you pass this into a checksum, it will give you some kind of value. Let's say the value would be like 143, something like that. So what we want you to do for this question is implement a checksum algorithm that is really simple. It takes the values of each character corresponding to their position in the alphabet. So A is considered to be 1, B is considered to be 2, and Z is 26. Yeah, that's according to the position in the alphabet. As you know, there are 26 letters. So, given this example of CAB, cab, we have 3 plus 1 plus 2, because C is 3, A is 1, and B is 2. So that gives us the 6. Alright, and for this question, we also give you 2 helper functions. One is letter to value, which takes in a letter, and gives you the value back. So this just gives you easier way of converting the letter in order into its actual value. And 2, the helper function of word to list. So given a word, it turns all the letters in the word into elements in a list. So given CAB, returns the list of C, A, and B. Alright, so we have our wonderful helper functions. Now let's just code it up and put them together. Okay, so the very first thing we want to do is think about how we want to go about doing this. So based on like all the questions we've done in the past, it seems pretty obvious that we want to iterate through each letter of the word, right? So we do have this awesome helper function to let us do that. So I'm just going to say L is word to list of word. Alright, so that gives me the actual list of letters in the word, right? And then so I want to go through each letter in the list. So for letter, oops, I actually forgot something. So let me move these lines here. I forgot that in my very first line, I want to actually set a dummy variable which will keep track of my sum. Well, let's actually just call this sum. That will be more clear. Right, so our sum is 0 to begin with because we haven't seen any letters. Alright, so going back to what I was saying, we want for letter in L, we want to add to our sum the value of this letter. So we will say letter to value of letter. Okay, and then at the very end, we just return our sum. There we have it. Alright, so one little quick point I want to make is that you might wonder why we even have word to list of word at all, like why we need to have this helper function. Well, in this case, it's not so obvious why it's helpful because a word seems to be a string, and in Python you can actually say for letter in string instead of for letter in list. Both are fine, but in other cases you might not know what the word looks like. For example, it could be something besides a string, like some other kind of data type, and extracting all the letters from that word is not so obvious. So this brings us back to the idea of abstraction. We might not know what something looks like or how it behaves, but we know we have this function that will give us what we want, and we should use that to our advantage. Alright, so for the next part, give an example of why this, or where this checksum algorithm would fail, where 2 different strings will give the same checksum value, and explain why. Alright, so if you sort of look at our function and what it's doing, you'll notice that it's just converting each letter into its value and adding that to its sum. Well, going back to kindergarten kindergarten mathematics, we remember that 1 plus 2 equals the same thing as 2 plus 1, right? They just both equal to 3. Well, actually, this gives us a lot of problems in our function, because if we have letters, the same letters in a word as another word, they may not be in the same positions or in the same order. It will still give us the same value. So just to put this more concretely, if we have CAB and BCA, so these look very different, but these are still going to give a value of 6. Right? You can actually check it against this case, and if you walk through the code, it should give you the value of 6 as your sum. So our checksum is actually failing because when we put in a string, we want it to have some unique value. That's the key idea behind a checksum. So for this version of a checksum, it fails, since you could have 2 strings with the same letters in different order but still get the same sum.